Let's talk about building an empire. But we're going to do it a little differently today because we're going to explore a story where the biggest moves weren't made on a battlefield, but in a wedding hall. Get ready to meet ancient India's ultimate power couples. So, when I say build an empire, what comes to mind? Probably legendary conquerors, right? Massive armies, epic battles. It's the classic story we all know, power through sword and sovereignty. But what if that's only half the story? I mean, what if the most powerful tool for grabbing power, for keeping the peace, and for sparking a massive cultural boom wasn't a weapon at all, but a really, really smart marriage? Well, that's exactly the strategy that was playing out on the Indian subcontinent between the 4th and 6th centuries. This was a wild time, you know? Old empires were gone, and new powers were rising up. But instead of just endless war, diplomacy, and dynasty, those were the real keys to the kingdom. As all these new players tried to fill the power vacuum, two dynasties in particular came to define the whole era. And the crucial thing, the absolute game changer, was that they saw each other not as rivals to be conquered, but as partners. So who are we talking about here? Well, up in the north, you've got this legendary empire at the absolute peak of its power. And down in the central Deccan Plateau, you have another dynasty controlling the strategic heart of the subcontinent. Let's meet them. Okay. So on one side, you've got the famous Gupta Empire. You've probably heard of them, often called the Golden Age of India. They dominated the north and were big into Vaishnavism, the worship of Vishnu. Then on the other side, the Vakataka dynasty. They controlled that vital central region, acting as a kind of cultural bridge. And they mostly followed Shaivism, the worship of Shiva. So two different powers, two different religious traditions. Now look at the map in your mind's eye. The Guptas are expanding. And the Vakatakas are right there. They're neighbors. Their borders are bumping up against each other, right on these super important trade routes. So conflict was definitely an option. But they chose something else, a path that would create stability for centuries. They decided to become family. And right at the very center of this huge diplomatic chess game is one, frankly, incredible woman. Her story makes all this abstract history feel incredibly personal. It's time to meet Prabhavarti Gupta. So Prabhava Gupta was a Gupta princess. She marries the Vakataka king, Rudrasena II, to seal the deal between their two powerful families. But then, disaster strikes. Just 5 years into the marriage, the king dies suddenly. She's left a widow with young sons. But instead of just fading away, she steps up. She rules as regent for nearly 20 years. And let me be clear, she wasn't just keeping the throne warm. As historian Dr. Rajiv Ranjan points out, her influence was profound. It was transformative. She brought her Gupta upbringing, its politics, its culture, right into the heart of the Vakataka kingdom. So what does that Gupta imprint actually look like? Well, with 2 decades in charge, Prabhavati Gupta basically reshaped the Vakataka kingdom in 2 major ways, through religion and through art. First, religion. And this is a big deal. Remember, the Guptas were all about Vishnu. The Vakatakas, mostly Shiva. Well, Prabhavati Gupta was a devout Vishnavite, and she started introducing her own traditions. We actually have her copperplate grants, and they call on Vishnu, deliberately planting her northern faith right there in the Deccan. Second, the art. The Gupta period is famous for this really unique artistic style. It's all about refined elegance, harmony, this sort of idealized vision. And through her power and patronage, these Gupta ideas about art started blending with the local Vakataka styles. It created this amazing, unique fusion. But here's the thing. This brilliant model of diplomacy, it wasn't just a one-time pact. The success of the Gupta-Vakataka alliance basically became the blueprint for an entire era, creating this huge web of interconnected royal families. Yeah, this strategy was so successful, it pretty much became the main political tool of the age. Instead of building walls between their kingdoms, these families were building bridges. And that created this incredible network that guaranteed peace and prosperity all across the subcontinent. So, let's bring a third player into the game, the Kadamba dynasty of Karnataka. They were an up-and-coming power just south of the Vakatakas. And guess what? They saw what was happening and wanted in on the action. And this is where it all clicks into place. Just look at this web. First, like we said, the Guptas ally with the Vakatakas through Prabhavati Gupta. Then, the Vakatakas turn around and extend that network south, marrying into the Kadamba dynasty. And then, to lock it all in, the Kadambas make their own direct alliance with the Guptas. It's not a chain, it's a triangle of power, all held together by family.
So what's the ultimate payoff for all this brilliant diplomacy? What happens when these huge powers decide to cooperate instead of fight for generations? Well, you get an unprecedented explosion of culture, art, and trade. I mean, just think about it. This network of alliances created a safe corridor right through the heart of India. Peace was basically guaranteed, so trade just flowed. Artists, scholars, merchants, they could all travel freely, sharing ideas, sharing goods, and that led to a genuine cultural golden age. In fact, this totally unique environment, this long peace, this amazing cross-pollination of ideas, it laid the groundwork for one of the most breathtaking artistic legacies in all of human history. The Ajanta Caves. These unbelievable rock-cut temples, they're a UNESCO World Heritage Site, were created under the patronage of the Vakataka kings. But the art you see there, it's not just local. It is infused with that elegant, refined aesthetic of the Guptas. And that is a direct, tangible result of the cultural exchange that Prabhavati Gupta kicked off decades earlier. It's a legacy literally carved in stone, a powerful reminder not of what war can conquer, but of what diplomacy can actually build. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Beyond all the famous stories of conquest, what other hidden alliances, what other forgotten power brokers have quietly shaped the world that we all live in today?